Okay, let's go to number 2, which is benchmarking. So in benchmarking, I've sort of already said it, so there's not a ton more to say maybe, other than I think what you're wanting to look for are 3 things. What are people charging? What are the services they're charging for? And then number 3, what's the frequency of that service? Right. So you're looking for, are they charging $500 a month? Are they doing it per session? You're also looking for, what's the service? Is it group training? Is it one-on-one training? And then how long? Is it an hour? Is it 30 minutes? You just want to get a sense. I would suggest finding 5 to 10 minimum of 5 to 10 other trainers that you can figure out what they're charging. And it's also important that you do this not just on a Google search or some type of web-based search or forum, but you want to go in your local marketplace, because every market is different in terms of what the consumer's barometer is for what they're willing to pay, right? In Seattle, you're going to get much different price than what you'd get where I live in Spokane, which is on the east side of the state, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to go locally and find what are people locally willing to pay for training.
Yeah, and this, Chris, this goes without saying, but comparable to what you have in mind, right? We want to compare apples to apples. And we also want to compare it against successful trainers, not the people that put on a good front, but the people that are actually getting paid.
Yeah, good. Great. Yes, great point. Because look, the other piece of that is, this is business planning is a soul-searching process. Like, you may start off thinking, what I want to do for business is a boot camp type of scenario. And you start to look in your marketplace for who's doing boot camp, and you may see like nobody's really doing boot camp stuff. Now, that's either a good news or bad news. In other words, you may not have anybody to benchmark off of because nobody's doing that in your space or in your town, which means maybe it's right for people to do that, and it would be a great way to leverage your time for sure. So these are the thought process you have to start to judge of, what do I do with that? Maybe that's part of, if you find that in your research, in your benchmarking research, when you get to your intake process, this is where you may want to start to drop some hints or ask some questions like, hey, have you ever thought about doing a group workout program, or what would that be like for you? And so you ask your clients, like, what would that be like for you? Would you do that? And they're like, yeah, I'd like that. I think I'd still like one-on-one, but I'd be open to doing group stuff. Great. Well, how many would be too many, right? So look, all of this is in this stage of benchmarking what you're trying to accomplish with the industry and the consumer, and finding out what fits.
Okay, and Chris, so that leads me to also believe that once you do your proper benchmarking, it's probably common to circle back to step number 1 and be sure that your numbers and your calculations.
Good. Yeah, again, and this is what a salary calculator can't do for you, because you're going to have these thoughts and you're going to have to come back and be like, you know what, after I first planned out what I want to make and what it's going to take to do that preliminarily, then I went and benchmarked stuff. I realized like my projections are a little off. Like, there isn't really any trainer in my town getting $500 a month. In fact, they're not even getting $250. I think the highest trainer right now, and I'm making this up, the highest trainer in my town is getting $200 a month. And the kind of service they're charging for is, 3 times a week for an hour each session. And that's what they're and then if you can find this out, it'd be hard because you'd have to actually ask these questions. You could say like, if you can find out what kind of clientele they have that pay those numbers, that might actually give you a sense of step 3, which is your story, which is who am I trying to attract, right? So.